почти на самом верху огромное черное пятно. Похоже на капельку, но почему-то она течет вверх.
Точно.
Вот это отверстие размером в пятиэтажное здание.
If you haven't already, be sure to check out the previous video about the mining village of Sadon. You can find a link to it in the description. This video is about an enchanted host village and a terrible natural disaster that turned a thriving mining village into a host village. And now we're heading to an amazing place, Tsey Gorge. Tsey Gorge begins just behind the village of Buron, located on the Transcaucasian Highway, about 80 kilometers southwest of Vladikavkaz. The Transcaucasian Highway is a former Ossetian military road. Only with its opening in 1888, it became possible to get to Tsey quickly and comfortably. Earlier, when I lived in Vladikavkaz, in my student days, there was a sanatorium and workhouse in Buron, where people with various kinds of addictions were forcibly treated. In other words, alcoholics and drug addicts. But all that's in the past. In 2007, on the place where the sanatorium used to be, a border post was established, controlling about 170 kilometers of the Russian-Georgian border, which runs along the main Caucasian ridge. After passing the village of Buron, we turn off the Transcam, where just after the bridge over the Ardon River, the Tsey Gorge begins. And here's the infamous Horn of Plenty. This is how the creative team Mahkont saw it and brought it to life. Horn of Plenty is one of the 10 art objects, the symbols of North Ossetia. And already we've started to climb the switchbacks of Tsey Gorge, and the first person we meet is the patron saint of hunters, as well as the owner of noble wild animals, deer, oryx, goats, Afshati Zoar. Afshati is one of the most revered Zoars, celestial beings, in the Ossetian pantheon. He is usually depicted as a one-eyed old man with a white beard sitting on Mount Adaihoch, where Afshati actually lives. From this mountain he oversees his forestry. It's known that the patron of wild animals has a bed of white deer antlers, a bed of bear wool, and pillows filled with the most delicate goat dung. It's believed that hunting game in the mountains of Ossetia is possible only with the permission of Afshati. Any hunter whom Afshati allows to return from hunting is obliged to share it with his villagers. At the entrance to the high mountain village of Tsey, you'll certainly notice a huge granite boulder, about 4 meters high. But the highlight isn't even the height of the huge boulder, but the fact that on it there's a portrait of Joseph Stalin. And on the back of the boulder there's a portrait of the great Ossetian poet and educator Kosta Khetagurov. I don't know how true it is, but it's said that when Khrushchev came to power, he ordered to throw this boulder into the abyss. But the very next day, villagers, unhappy with Stalin's fall, returned the huge boulder to its place. And even then, it's said, they guarded the stone image for a while with weapons in their hands. And here it must be made clear that this veneration of the Ossetians for Joseph Stalin isn't based on an empty square. There are good reasons to believe that Stalin himself, through his father, was an Ossetian. Tsey Gorge, which includes Skazskiy Gorge, is located not only in the center of North Ossetia, but on the entire North Caucasus. This is the only gorge that the Ossetians and their ancestors, their lands, never left. No matter what bloody battles the Ossetians participated in Tsey Gorge, the warlike people survived and were reborn. In Tsey Gorge, there is the oldest Ossetian sanctuary, Rekom, which serves as the main place of worship for the most powerful sky god of the Ossetian pantheon, Zoar Uastrach. The name Rekom is originally Ossetian and dates back to ancient times. There are various interpretations, but given the special role of the falcon bird in Ossetian mythology, it can be assumed that Rekom is a cut-off from the Ossetian Uarekom, which means Falcon Canyon. The building itself is a log house built without nails from thick pine logs. According to the legend, the Rekom is God's creation. Men weren't involved in any way in the construction of the sanctuary. It was created on the spot where one of God's tears was shed over the fallen Nart Patras. It's known that Rekom is revered as one of the oldest and most important shrines of Ossetia. On one of the bells of the sanctuary, there's preserved an inscription which says, "The prayer book of Digoria and Dvaletia, the sanctuary of the whole country of Ossetia." Already under Soviet rule, sometime in the 70s of the last century, a chairlift was built in Tsey Gorge. Today, the Cableway has 2 chairs and a length of more than 1.5 kilometers, as in time 20 minutes. What a simple Russian tourist should know about Tsey Gorge. The gorge is located between 2 mountain ranges, Kalperovsky and Tseyski. Since they resemble a horseshoe on the map, the area is often called the Tsey Horseshoe, but earlier Tsey was called Hurikom, which means sunny gorge in Ossetian. And they called it so because in Hurikom there are more than 2,300 hours of sunshine a year. For comparison, Davos, Switzerland, has 1,800 hours of sunshine a year. The lower part of the gorge is located near the village of Buron and Mount Wilpatan, considered the highest point. Its height is almost 5,000 meters. The gorge stretches for more than 20 kilometers. And here's another visiting card of Tsey, the Mount Monk. The mount got its name because of the striking resemblance to the hood, the headdress of monks. During the ascent, a narrow ribbon of the Sadon River meanders right under your feet. Winter in Tsey Gorge is mild. The air temperature rarely drops below minus 10 degrees Celsius, which makes skiing here very pleasant. The ski season starts in December and ends in April. The altitude difference in the ski resort is 920 meters. Already at the foot of the glacier, you can discover an artillery piece. It's used to prevent the accumulation of excessive snow masses and spontaneous avalanches. That's, as you already understood, of course, a not very large amount of snow accumulated on the slope. They shoot there, and all the snow in the form of a small avalanche goes down neatly without disturbing anyone. The highest point that can be reached by cable car is called Green Hill, and just behind Green Hill, the famous Skazskiy Glacier, the largest in the Tsey Gorge, begins its course into the endless blue sky. From the vault of food, TV, rocking, shaking the chair. We suddenly found ourselves in a world of ice and on the glacier, a magical name, Skazsky.
Дороги вьется серпантин, я еду в Tsey, бегу от масок и витрин, я еду в Tsey. Заждался дедушка-монах, хоть весь в заботах и делах, я еду в Tsey. Коротких дней, ну а потом вас встретят горы, сосны и Rekom. Седой монах, угрюмый взгляд под клобуком, о чем-то спорит с ледником. 6 дней, всего лишь 6, но я минуты тороплю. Горами брежу, плохо ем, почти не сплю. Читаю книги, телевизор ли смотрю. Все вижу, как по январю я еду в Tsey, дороги вьется серпантин, я еду в Tsey, бегу от масок и витрин, я еду в Tsey. Заждался дедушка-монах, хоть весь в заботах и делах, я еду в Tsey, дороги вьется серпантин, я еду в Tsey. Бегу от масок и витрин, я еду в Tsey. Заждался дедушка-монах, хоть весь в заботах и делах, я еду в Tsey.
The Skazskiy Glacier stretches like a prince for up to 3 kilometers along the slopes of the Skazskiy Gorge. For now, the ice giant appears to be at rest, but we know how scary it can be when the glacier awakens. For a link to a video of what the Kolka Glacier has done to the Ardon Gorge, see the description. Skazskiy Glacier begins at an altitude of almost 4,000 meters, and the lowest point to which its tongue reaches is at an altitude of about 2.5 kilometers above sea level. Skazskiy in Russian means fairy tale, but the name of the glacier actually has nothing to do with the fairy tale. Translated from Ossetian, Skaz means view or overview. But in fact, when you climb up the glacier, there's a lot to admire and overlook. In the meantime, our second tour through the mountains of North Ossetia continues. Having memorized forever the Skazskiy Glacier, we continue to Tsey Gorge, where we'll visit the ancient Ossetian village of Lisli, test healing mineral water in deep and perhaps not as healing as mineral water, but certainly much delicious barbecue. But all this in the next video.